This is TWiT.
I got something shiny. The iPhone XS and XS Max review from AnandTech. You always wait for AnandTech's take on like the deep silicon and all that stuff.
They finally have a mobile editor again. I mean, Andre is there now, but there was a break when Joshua Ho left, and then we didn't get an iPhone review last year from them.
What?
So now they're back. Yeah.
His, I mean, to me, the top line is the processor's so fast in this thing, it's basically desktop class.
It's ludicrous.
Way beyond anything that you're seeing in any other device that Apple really, I mean, this is a 7-nanometer TSMC chip. Incredibly powerful. 2 new CPU cores running at 2.5 gigahertz. Apple's claims that it's much faster, he seems to say are absolutely true. There's also, besides
Andre
the
says
two
they're underselling
Vortex,
it.
they're
He
underselling
said the marketing
it.
was underselling.
They're underselling. The 2 Vortex cores are also supported by smaller, 4 smaller high efficiency cores called Mistral, and that's where you get the the battery sipping power and the power when you need it, but low power usage most of the time. The Apple says the GPU is 50% higher, but he says, yep, it's even better than that.
They weren't even memory compressing before. It's like they just added that and got a huge boost, and it makes you wonder how they were getting that performance before.
Right. Anything else from this that we should? This is the first commercial 7-nanometer silicon. This is something Intel could not do.
The news here is just that Apple can afford to do this. I mean, like Qualcomm is a silicon merchant, but that's expensive. And other companies either use, Samsung makes some of their chips. They use some Qualcomm chips, but it's incredibly expensive. And Apple is paying for first access to a 7-nanometer fab, and they don't take profit and loss on the chipset. They do not need to keep it on a shelf. They do not need to sell it at a margin that another phone maker will do it. They can subsidize the price of that chip by the overall price of the phone. They've managed to get some of the best talent in the world, and they are happy to let them run and not walk, not crawl, can you keep this on the market another year or two so we can really get some profit out of this? It's just make the best thing you can make, and we'll stick it in this phone and see what we can do with it. It's
pretty damn impressive. And things that are just, underneath the hood that only somebody like Andre's he can even notice, like better improvement in cache performance. He did the spec mark on it. He says it's been a while since we attempted spec on an iOS device. And so he's got the full 2006 harness back to work and was able to do a bunch of evaluations. And this is energy and performance.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this all means.
It's 2 to 3 times more performance efficient, which I think is Qualcomm language. It really smells like Qualcomm language to me. Performance efficient than other Android processors.
Per watt or something like that, yes.
Well, the speed with which it can get back to zero state.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to extract. This is very geeky. I highly encourage anybody who's interested in this stuff reads it. I'm just trying to extract the top line.
The camera, I mean, he said, we're getting a lot of mixed reviews with the camera, but we're getting mixed reviews about what is the best camera in the world, not whether it's a good or bad camera. And I think, I forget what he said. I think he probably put it a little bit below the Pixel, but he liked that too. And the battery, I mean, all the tests he did were phenomenal.
The A12 outperforms a moderately clocked Skylake CPU, a desktop CPU, in single-threaded performance. Okay, that's interesting. It's just, here's the speedometer 2.0 OS view. This down here is a Pixel XL. This up here is an iPhone XS. That's a lot faster.
It's very iPhone heavy at the top.
Yeah. S9 Plus here is right in the middle. That's the latest Samsung. Well, almost the latest Samsung.
So there's been a lot of misunderstanding here too, and like a lot of people said, like but I don't see the difference. I use my phone and I don't see the difference. But one of the biggest differences is that it lets this phone have an incredibly long useful life. The phone has got massive amounts of overhead, and you can test those limits doing really complex AR or computational photography matrices. You can push that chip right now, but it means that phone will still be useful when it's getting updates for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and it's why an iPhone 5S can run iOS 12. So it really is something that you want headroom Groupon, so you do have the longevity of your purchase.
So this is a JavaScript benchmark, for instance, and the closest non-Apple phone is less than half the performance. That's the Xiaomi Mi Mix 2S. Less than half the performance of the iPhone 10s.
It is getting hard now, though, because there's so many dedicated units, like there's decoders and encoders and JavaScript accelerators, that you never know what's hitting the processor and what's hitting dedicated
and he
silicon
says that.
to make that faster.
This is tough to test. It really is tough to test. And I'm not a big fan of benchmarks, but it's fascinating to read. I mean, exactly as you say, this is, talk about painting the inside of the fence. This is like stuff that, you know.
The wonderful thing about reading these kind of reviews is with Apple, you know that they're building a phone not to run iOS 12. They've already got iOS 14. They're looking at those features. They know exactly what the code has to do. And so that the fact that the past 3, 4, or 5 years, I can't think of an iPhone that has not been grotesquely overpowered for the features of the operating system that they've released alongside the phone. And well, I'll be darned, it turns out that next year they're doing augmented reality. And I'll be darned, it turns out next year they're doing a camera that takes a bajillion pictures like with one press in a split second, which is something that they used to have to, okay, hold the camera steady because we're going to take 3 pictures in sequence right now. That's we're well beyond the point where you can tell the speed of a phone by how fast it feels in your hand. We now tell the speed of a phone by the magical things that now happen with one tap, one button press, one swipe, because you have no idea how much math, how many pixels are being shifted just to make a transition from one app to another feel good.
Apple said the GPU is 50% faster. He's actually testing it 75% faster than the iPhone 10. Maybe Apple thought if we said that, nobody would believe us. Read all about it.
And he's one of the few people who really understands and can do benchmarks. He's not just downloading an app and pressing a button.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's hard to do, especially on mobile.
It's so much custom code and so much time.
Yeah, it's so tied into the hardware that you don't know if it's not doing a good job on math. Well, that's because they found a different solution to do the kind of math that they need to do for various things. So you don't. That's why you don't go for the downloaded stuff. It really is what features do you like and how does it feel in the hand.
Basically, he's doing what somebody disassembling source code is doing. He's trying to understand what Apple's doing, but only Apple really knows what their goals were with these chips and why they're making these chips perform this way. And it's, he's trying to,
the best thing you can say is he probably didn't get everything right, but he probably made the platform technologies engineers super happy. With his compliment.
He also says he looks forward to testing the 10R. He says, I think it's going to be an incredibly attractive alternative to 10S models. And that's because the 10R is inside the same, right?
The chip is the same. There's far fewer pixels to push around, so it should fly. It should be like the SE all over again.
Yeah.
Well, and these really are. I mean, we're now to the point where these truly are just computers that are just a lot smaller. So we think of them as phones,
right?
But they're computers that happen to take phone calls, and but they are now reaching that point where they're competitive with many of the laptops that we have and everything else. And it'd be really interesting to see what the next iPad looks like and how it performs and what it can do. And I think one of the big problems that Apple has with upgrades with the iPad is that I don't think developers take enough advantage of what the hardware can do, and I think that's something that Apple almost has to do because they're not really these iPads. Will do an enormous amount of things, and then we do really simple products because that's what's easier to build for $399.